Hi everybody. I wanted to make this video because I've been getting really frustrated with the whole abortion debate. Revolving especially around Alabama. And I just saw a video, I'm trying to find it now. Let me pull it up for you. My history. Where there were claims made. Here, I'll just let you listen.
Yeah. Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne, whatever you want to call it. I think he's Charlotte the Fool, but he's got a radio show.
Hold on. Let's cut this part out.
Yeah. Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne, whatever you want to call it. I think he's Charlotte the Fool, but he's got a radio show called The Breakfast Club. He preaches a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of poison to black and brown people all day.
Yeah, he's a liberal radio host.
Yeah.
Now, before I roll the clip, I gotta warn you white people, this black man is racist. Roll the damn clip!
I gave donkey to Alabama Governor Kay Ivey and the 25 mayonnaise-flavored mammals who voted 25-6 to sign into an abortion bill. These old Caucasian colonizers in Alabama don't care if you get pregnant via rape, via incest. They just don't want you having abortions, period. Some are saying the reasons they are doing this are religious. I am not a biblical scholar, so somebody please send me the Bible scripture that says abortion is wrong. I haven't researched it, but I'm down to learn.
First things first, man, the things you were saying about white people is racist. What if a white man walked in your radio station and said, you know what, it's too much tar in here?
Too much oil in here.
Yeah,
it's
calling
all
white people mayonnaise, man? Come on, man.
oil spills. It's too much oil spill action going on.
Too
Okay.
much darkness.
First of all, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find the term abortion in the Bible.
That's something that evil liberals invented.
Yeah, it's a euphemism that was created in the late 1800s, early 1900s, I think. What you're gonna find in the Bible is the term murder.
Because that's what abortion is, you know.
You do realize that, right?
Don't take a scholar to know that. Hey, white people get worse.
Yeah, it gets much worse. Roll the damn clip.
Now, I was looking at some abortion statistics, and I saw that 37% of women having abortions are white, 37% are black, 19% Hispanic, 7% of other races. My first question, always when things like this happen, is why? That's what I was trying to figure out yesterday. What is the why to all of this? Why do these men care so much when it comes to what women do with their bodies? And it hit me. This is all about self-preservation for the white race. So when you understand that some white people have a fear of a brown planet, you ban abortions, well, the population of white people increases. All the states who have passed this abortion ban are red states: Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Ohio, Kentucky, Utah, Arkansas. Population of these places is white, okay? Heavy white. Heavy Republican, too much goddamn mayonnaise. This isn't about religion or saving the lives of fetuses. This is about self-preservation.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. So, the obvious racism, right? Too much mayonnaise, it's fucking racist. Okay? Too much chocolate would be just as racist when referring to black people. Don't do it to white people. It's wrong. Okay? I had arguments years ago now, when I first heard Charlemagne the God, and he is a political adjacent person. That's a term I like to use to describe people who really like to dip their feet into politics when it's convenient for them, but they're not very well educated on how to look at politics, and they look at it through a very biased lens. So they're not able to really challenge themselves very well. And this is a very obvious example of it, because as somebody who appears to stand against, let's say white supremacy, pretty fucking racist. Calling old white men colonizers is racist. It's a racial slur when used in that context, period. And it would be wrong for a white person to call a black person a bushman or a spear chucker or something else to refer to them purely based on their race or as a major component of it. And we recognize that, but we're not going to recognize, he's not going to recognize the irony of it, I guess. So, fuck that. That's racist. Charlemagne, you're racist. That pisses me off. And I know a lot of people listen to it. I have my best friend listens to him, and, you know, I can't, because he's... Broken clock is right twice a day. But that's a racist fucking clock. And that clock is either intentionally misleading or just too stupid to realize that they're making all sorts of logic leaps. Don't go to Charlemagne for your political news and your political advice. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Period. All right? Moving on to statistics. So he started citing national statistics, which is 37.5% white, 37.5% black abortions. Now, obviously, if you were to take the national statistics, you look at the overall population of blacks to whites, and you see that whites make up a majority, whereas blacks make up something like 13.5% or somewhere around that value. So if whites and blacks are having abortions at the same rate of total abortions, but they make up a disparate percent of the population, that means way more of an impact on the black community is occurring at the same time. So although you're making more white babies, right? If you embraced abortion with those statistics, if those numbers didn't really change, you eradicate the black population. Because they can't sustain it, white people can. That's pretty obvious, right? There's some flaws in it, obviously. The statistics don't take into account. They only take into account the race of the woman getting aborted, not the genes of the fetus or the zygote, whatever stage of the fertilized egg and at its development, whether it came from a black father or a white father or whatever. I don't know if that's included or not. I believe it's not. They're just taking into account the race of the woman getting the abortion performed. But that's still a good place to go with the statistic, because at least in that case we can be sure. I would like to see that statistic expanded to include this kind of information. I think it'd be really important. It'd be interesting to know as well, for instance, how many white women are aborting black babies, how many black women are aborting white babies, and all the in-betweens, right? If there's a trend somewhere there, and you could start... It's interesting data, basically. It could be damning, though, so I guess it's kind of dangerous data in the wrong hands of the media, which they would most certainly use to very unscrupulous ends for some healthy clicks. Anybody who's watched my Twitch channel and heard me talk extensively knows how much I'm irritated by that, or seen some of my previous videos here on YouTube, I guess. But let's go back to Alabama. This is one of the things that really bugs the shit out of me, right? So I remember Charlie Kirk actually had a really poor answer to this in one of his interviews, Turning Point UK, which was that lie by omission, right? And the way that you present statistics, you can present facts, but when you omit certain facts that contextually change the conclusion of that data and read very differently, then you're deceiving people. You're openly deceiving people. And when you're called out on it, you can't just say, well, these are the facts, and facts don't care about your feelings, because you're not presenting all the facts. You're avoiding facts so as to lead to a narrative. That is absolutely a journalistic failure. It happens all the time. And, anybody who complains about somebody being called on that, I can almost guarantee you'll find instances of them making the same call on others. So Charlie Kirk, I think he's kind of an interesting guy, but I'm going to give him, I'm docking points for that, obviously. I'm going to dock extra points for Charlemagne, especially here, because he just does this routinely. From what I've listened to, what little I've listened to, this is just part of his shtick, which is really, really annoying. And I think he believes it. I think he actually buys into it. So if that's the case, he's just a complete idiot, which I'm willing to accept that, right? Let's go to his statistics. Now, we're just talking about Alabama. He goes to national statistics. That doesn't apply to Alabama, because different states have different rates of abortions for different races. And how do I know? Well, I know because I have here the Alabama Public Health document from 2017 of induced terminations of pregnancy, aka abortions. And we can see here that by race of the patient, and we can see here that by race of the patient, we only have 6.7 thousand, say 6.8 thousand abortions, 6,768. Of that, 2,316 are white, 4,187 are black. Now, the statistic that he gave was that around of the total number of abortions that were performed, black women and white women made up the same amount in percentage, which means that you would see roughly the same number when you're talking total abortions. It doesn't take into account, we're not talking about population, like demographic. We're not talking about demographic size here, right? When you introduce demographic size, it creates a very troublesome graphic. It's a very troublesome statistic. So let's look at. But when we look at just this, right? Just the total number of abortions. If white women and black women both make up the same percentage of that total number, they should have roughly the same number of abortions between them. But like I said, differs from state to state. So while a national statistic might show a certain trend, and that may be useful in some kinds of analyses, it's not useful here when you're talking specifically about Alabama and specifically about Alabama legislators and what their goals are, what the Alabama residents' goals are. You want to talk about them preserving the white race, you have to show that in their state that's actually reasonable. And part of that, too, is, unless you believe in a grand scheme of white supremacy through his ridiculous conspiracy theory that is absolutely groundless and completely off the wall, Alabama is one of those states that really strongly supports their own ability to self-govern, aka states' rights, right? Take that with whatever caveat you want. Where this is concerned, it's very clear that they're concerned with their own state because they don't want to be California or New York or somebody else. So if the statistics in their state don't match the national statistics, it'll be very hard to prove that their motivation was purely to protect the white population from dwindling. Because if white women and black women were getting abortions at the same rate, it still looks bleak for black people. But in fact, if we look at the number of abortions here just on this sheet, we can see that black women have received almost twice as many abortions as white women in the year 2017, which is the most recent statistic I was able to pull. It was 2 years ago, right? That's still relevant within recent times. And that's still modern, like current age of politics. Nothing significant should have changed by then. But I'd be glad to look at some information if anybody has any and decides to share it that shows a different story. So black women are making up more than, well, almost double. Let's do some math. Okay. So we're gonna put this to the left here, and I've got a Google sheet here on the right side. Now we need to pull up the Alabama census for 2017. Right? Now we have the census fact finder for Alabama from census.gov. Let's look at population, and we'll look at 2017 demographic and housing estimates, right? Now we look at the female population is about 51.5% in 2017, compared to the male population of 48.5%, with 2.499965, right? Now, 18 years and over, that's 3.748 million women in Alabama. That's the total number of women. I'm sorry, no, that's the total. That's the total population, men and women. Then we look at 18 years and over for females, 1964.01. Okay, males per 100 females is 91.2 for every 100. So that's about the same ratio that we were seeing before. It doesn't really change it at all. So we have the number of 18-year-old females, and we have the number of black people. 26.5% black out of this number. So let's take a look at Alabama. So we have the total population, right? The total population estimated to be 48,50,771. Okay. Make that prettier. Number. That's not the number I want. There we go. 48, 50, 70, 71. That's your total population. Now let's look at the population for female, which is, let's see, female 18 plus, right? That's right here. 1960, 401. Now we'll look at the race ratio. Okay. White and black. So the white ratio is right here, 68.4%. And the black ratio, we have 26.5%. So estimated population of whites is the total population times that, right? 331,7927. And if we look at the overall, 331,7702. So we're in the ballpark. We're like right across, we're in the driveway at this point. That's pretty clear. So let's take a look at estimated females black, white and black, right? +18. And this is going to be the number of females times the number of white people. Okay. $1349.14 white women. And the estimated females above the age of 18 times the number of black people as a ratio. Face the format only. 519,506. Okay? So now let's see here. Ratio fem 18 plus. This is this divided by that. So there's about 2.5 times, 2.6 almost, times as many white women as there are black women. This will be useful later so we can see the impact on their communities with the advent of abortion, the institution of abortion, what it actually does to that population. Let's look at the abortion statistics now. Okay? So now, abortions for white, for black, white women abortions make up 2316. Black women abortions make up 4187. White black ratio, right? Equals this divided by this. Let's do it the other way. This divided by this. 1.8 times. We'll rename this. Black to white ratio. 1.8 times as many black babies are aborted. Overall. Okay? Now let's take abortions 18 plus. Right? So for white, that's 2316 minus women under 18 here. To 70 for whites. And this is going to be 145 for blacks. And then the adjusted ratio is going to be this divided by this. So 1.807 to 1.799. Rounded, it's still 1.8. Still roughly the same ratio, right? Almost twice as many. Almost twice as many. We can see that. Let's take a quick look, just to start off with our argument, right? We have this right here. Let's now see the impact that they have on their actual populations. So the actual estimated population of white women. So loss for whites and loss for blacks, right? Loss for whites is going to be this. Sorry, it'll be the total number of abortions divided by, whoops, 18 plus babies, total number of abortions divided by, and we'll just use no, okay, so we'll use a more generous figure here. Rather than the number of 18 plus women, let's take all women. Because these are also children, right? So we have the number of abortions. So we'll take the number of abortions, that's C15, and let's divide that by the total population of women. Actually, no, it's fine, just as is. I don't think I needed a formula for that. Let's make that a percentage. 0.07%. Now we take the population loss, C17, divided by the estimated population of black women, which I have to write in. Estimated population of blacks is the total population times the ratio. Right? Format number. I'm not going to bother grabbing the numbers from the sheet because they're accurate enough. It's still close enough. So here we see abortions are causing a loss of the total population of, in a best case scenario, in the most generous scenario for Charlemagne's argument, more than 4 times of an impact on the actual population. Abortions as an institution have more than 4 times the impact on the black community than they do on the white community. Now, if you look at their actual population, then you see this is pretty startling. This has a noticeable effect. there's a pretty small number still altogether because this is less than 1%. Let's not get it twisted here. But that less than 1%, if they're concerned about it from the perspective of protecting their race, they're sorely mistaken, right? That would be completely stupid. But any statistician can easily tell you that Alabama is not having that issue. And he talked about all the white states doing this, right? The white states trying to protect themselves. From what? Black extinction? Because that's the only thing that these numbers show. They show that black women are getting almost twice as many abortions as white women, and that it has more than 4 times the effect on the population of black women. And that's not even counting white women who are aborting black babies. Because all black women are aborting black babies, of mixed race or other. But only some of those white women are aborting black babies. So the statistics are even worse for the black population if a drop of black is part of your statistic. If that's part of your view, then the institution of abortion is doing even more harm to the black community than that 0.31%. Maybe 0.33% or 0.34%. Staggering by comparison. There's no support for this whatsoever. Just do the math yourself. Look at the population statistics. Look at the number of women over 18. This doesn't count. I'm not even counting women under 18. I don't care. Right? Just for the sake of women over 18, which is more generous towards his argument. It's still the same. And even if you included women under 18, the ratio goes from 1.807 to 1.799. Statistically, not a huge difference when you're talking about 2246 and 4042 or 2316 and 4187. They're still about the same. You're still getting about the same values. You might drop 1%, maybe, on black loss, which would improve it, perhaps, but it's still weak as shit. Charlemagne, you have no idea what you're talking about. Your arguments are completely salacious and damaging to race relations in this country and damaging to the black community, which is being wiped out by an institution created by a strong supporter of eugenics and a known racist. Margaret Sanger, I believe her name is. Planned Parenthood exists very prominently in underprivileged communities, let's call them, poor communities with minorities. And it's pushed. The most abortions happen in those communities. And this is just black people. This isn't other races. I could include the 265 additional people. Let's do that, right? Let's say abortion's other, non-white. 4042 plus 265. Plus 265 minus 3 minus 1 to get rid of the minors, right? $43.03. That changes the ratio to 1.91 non-whites to whites, which creates a loss of brown people instead of just black people to 0.33%, to 0.02% higher than it was before. That's even more non-whites being aborted, guaranteed. And once again, that means that you're not including the white women who are getting abortions for babies that would be born mixed race. There is no support for this argument. And it is complete and utter bullshit. And the fact that he uses his radio show to push this absolutely pisses me off, because the black community only just recently started realizing they're being taken for a spin, but a lot of them are still on the fucking plantation. And it's so irritating to me. These ideas don't have their back. I don't care what you believe about abortion. Get your statistics right first. Because when you start wrapping a narrative around it that's absolute bullshit, based on completely bogus claims that come from a totally wrong place, you lack the understanding necessary to grasp what's going on. Because you're jumping the shark with a national statistic to talk about Alabama and their interests. Alabama is very, very, very white. If they want to protect the white race in Alabama, all they have to do is let abortions run rampant. That's it. They don't need to worry about anything else. Young people are having more abortions than ever, I suppose. If that's true, and there's no need to look that up. But go ahead if you want to. Let me know. If that's true, black people are still getting more of it because they have greater access to it, because that's what's been pushed forever, even though they may have less money. You might think, well, white people can afford abortions more than black people. Well, if you keep sticking Planned Parenthood in black neighborhoods, then no. That means white people have to go out of their way to get it. And maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Personally, I think it's a complete fucking waste of time. Basil-gel's the answer as far as I'm concerned. Go look that up. It's pretty interesting. When we can stop teen pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies, without interfering with the rights of others by incentivizing behavior that doesn't intrude on their ability to enjoy life and the company of each other, then I think maybe we'll find the answer, but whatever. In the meantime, we're going to keep having this pointless argument. So I wanted to make this video because I absolutely hate these kinds of garbage statistics. They really piss me off. That a person with that kind of platform makes things so much harder, and it feels so artificial that we got people like him that are just pushing these narratives. And, you know, once again, I hate bad arguments more than I hate stupid people or stupid ideas. Stupid ideas are fine, as long as you can argue them well. Because you can't, since they're stupid ideas. And if you can, they're not stupid ideas. There's merit to them. Even if the whole idea doesn't have merit, parts of it may. That's how the marketplace of ideas works. That's called brainstorming as a group. And sometimes that means some people are going to be offensive, or some people are going to be offended. That's okay. That's necessary. But this kind of behavior continues to further polarize people with bad information. It's nothing more than propaganda. And it's not the first time I've had issues with this guy. Really annoying. If you've got any more statistics, share them with me, and let's see if the trends have changed. But according to everything that I can see, where Alabama is concerned, there is no evidence to suggest that protecting the white population is even an achievable goal by banning abortions. Clearly. More black people in the population means more mixed babies, means more race mixing that quote-unquote dirties the pool, if that's the way you want to feel about it. So by and large, like Margaret Sanger, promoting abortions within minority communities is within your best interests to eradicate them, which was her goal. That's all I have to say about it. Anytime you're sold something, make sure you understand why you're being sold it before you buy it wholesale. Especially politics. Hope you enjoyed it.